The story begins with Jo Wan, who returns to her old high school after many years. As she walks through the familiar hallways, memories of the past come rushing back. But among all those memories, only one name keeps echoing in her mind: Lu Xiao. It feels as if she's been carrying a heavy burden in her heart for years. Again and again, she apologizes to him. From her words, it's obvious that she once hid countless truths from him and told him many lies. But what really happened between them? With that question, the story takes us back 10 years into the past. Back then, Jo Wan was a quiet, hardworking girl and the top student in school. One morning, while everyone is standing quietly during the school assembly, Lu Xiao makes his unforgettable entrance. He is the most rebellious and notorious student in the entire school. On top of that, he's incredibly handsome, making him the crush of almost every girl on campus. But Lu Xiao couldn't care less about any of that. He lives for fun, chaos, and breaking the rules. Right in the middle of the assembly, he breaks the school's water pipes, sending water spraying everywhere. Teachers, security guards, and staff rush to catch him, but he easily slips away. Instead, he jumps onto the stage, grabs the microphone, and starts entertaining the entire school. Watching everything from the crowd is Zhang Yan, Jo Wan's childhood friend and next-door neighbor. From the look on his face alone, it's obvious that he can't stand Lu Xiao. As soon as the assembly ends, Lu Xiao is summoned to the teacher's office. The teachers begin scolding him, but before they can do much, his best friend Jiang Fan steps in and cleverly turns the situation around until the teachers have nothing left to say. The truth is, even the teachers were a little afraid of Lu Xiao. Meanwhile, Jo Wan is fighting a very different battle. One day, she goes for a tutoring job interview. To get hired, she lies about everything. She claims her father owns a small factory, her mother works with him, and she's already 20 years old. But the truth is far more painful. Her father passed away years ago. Her mother abandoned her when she was a child. She lives alone with her grandmother and isn't even 18 yet, but she desperately needs money, leaving her with no choice but to lie. That same day is also her grandmother's birthday. After the interview, Jo Wan rushes home. On the way, she accidentally bumps into Lu Xiao but quickly walks away without saying a word. Later that evening, she celebrates her grandmother's birthday with Zhang Yan. As she closes her eyes to make a wish, she quietly prays, "I hope none of my lies are ever exposed." Little does she know, those very lies will completely change her future. The next day, Jiang Fan receives a brand new motorcycle from his father as a reward for his excellent grades. Curious, Lu Xiao asks how he suddenly improved so much. Jiang Fan reveals that he bought study notes from someone and they completely changed his results. Interested, Lu Xiao decides to buy the same notes. The following day, the two of them visit the shop where the notes are sold. But the shopkeeper angrily throws them out because the notes don't actually belong to the shop. Their real owner is Jo Wan, who has been secretly selling her handwritten notes to earn money. The moment Jo Wan learns that Lu Xiao wants to buy them, she immediately shuts down her account. She believes he's nothing but a troublemaker and wants to stay as far away from him as possible. But Lu Xiao isn't the type to give up easily. Using her profile picture and a few small clues, he tracks down her location. When he finally walks inside, he's shocked to discover that the mysterious note seller is actually Jo Wan. He questions her, but she repeatedly denies everything. So Lu Xiao distracts her and secretly hides one of her notebooks. When she comes back, he asks for the notes again. But Jo Wan refuses without hesitation. To her, he's still nothing more than a reckless troublemaker. In the very next exam, Lu Xiao suddenly scores surprisingly high marks, leaving the teachers speechless. When they ask how he managed it, he simply replies, "My tutor taught me." By then, rumors about someone secretly selling study notes had already spread around the school, but Lu Shihao cleverly changes the topic, claiming he only shared the notes his tutor had given him. Standing nearby, Zhou Wan silently hears the entire conversation. After school, Lu Shihao approaches her once again. This time, Zhou Wan finally agrees to sell him the notes, but only for double the price. To her surprise, Lu Shichao accepts without arguing. That same night, several debt collectors show up outside Zhou Wan's house demanding money. It turns out her late father had borrowed money that was never repaid. Her grandmother knows nothing about the debt, so Zhou Wan has been carrying the entire burden alone. Zhou Wan somehow manages to calm them down and pleads for a little more time. She promises that she'll repay the remaining money as soon as possible. After a lot of convincing, they finally agree, give her a few more days, and leave. When Zhou Wan gets home, her grandmother immediately rushes over and asks, "Where have you been? Is everything okay? You don't look well." But Zhou Wan hides the truth. With a small smile, she brushes it off and says, "It's nothing, Grandma. I just went to give a book to Jiang Yan." With that, she quickly heads to her room. Her grandmother watches her leave, unable to shake the feeling that Zhou Wan is hiding something. Behind that smile, she could clearly sense there was a burden her granddaughter wasn't ready to share. The next day, she finally hands the notes over to Lu Si-o. Later, she takes her grandmother to the hospital, where the doctor reveals that her condition is serious and she'll need regular treatment and medication. The news leaves Zhou Wan even more desperate. She calls her mother, hoping for help, but no one answers. As if things couldn't get any worse, the family who interviewed her for the tutoring job discovers that she lied about her age and background. Just like that, she loses the job. Exhausted, frustrated, and heartbroken, Zhou Wan starts walking home. On the way, she notices Lu Shichao talking to a woman. At first, she doesn't pay much attention, but when she looks closer, she freezes. The woman is her own mother. The conversation between them is clearly tense, and moments later, Lu Shichao turns to leave without looking back. Zhou Wan quickly stops him and asks, "The woman you were just talking to, was she your mother?" The question instantly changes Lu Shichao's expression. Without hesitation, he angrily denies it and walks away. At that moment, Zhou Wan realizes there's a hidden truth that could change her entire life forever. And somehow, the only person who can lead her to that truth is Lu Shichao. What she doesn't know is that this decision is about to pull both of them into a journey filled with hidden secrets, painful lies, and long-buried truths. The next day at school, everything seems normal except for Zhou Wan. Her attitude toward Lu Shichao has changed completely. Instead of avoiding him, she walks up to him with a smile and suggests they study together. Lu Shichao is surprised at first, but he eventually agrees. Watching all this, Jiang Fan can't help but feel suspicious. He asks Lu Shichao what's going on, but Shichao simply shrugs and says, "Mind your own business." That evening, Zhou Wan arrives at their study spot. The moment Lu Shichao sees her, he suddenly bursts into laughter. Confused, Zhou Wan keeps asking why he's laughing, but he refuses to answer. Annoyed, she turns to leave, but loses her balance and falls. Lu Shichao had been trying to hold back his laughter, but the moment she walks away, he can't stop laughing. Meanwhile, Zhou Wan isn't ready to give up. That same night, she secretly sneaks into the school office and calls Lu Shichao's house. Hiding her identity, she pretends to be his English tutor and asks to meet his family. The next day, she waits for classes to end before rushing to their study spot. But when she arrives, Lu Shichao is nowhere to be found. Disappointed, she goes looking for him. Meanwhile, he's sitting comfortably, completely absorbed in a video game. She tells him it's time to study. He refuses. So Zhou Wan challenges him to a game. They play 5 rounds. She wins the first 2. Lu Xihao takes the next 2. Everything comes down to the final round, and Zhou Wan wins. Having lost the challenge, Lu Xihao has no choice but to keep his promise and study. Surprisingly, the very next day, he arrives at the study spot before Zhou Wan. She begins teaching him English, believing he might want to study abroad one day. As the lesson continues late into the evening, Lu Xichao keeps trying to distract her with random questions and childish behavior, hoping she'll eventually give up. But Zhou Wan patiently continues teaching him. During the lesson, she notices how uncomfortable he is because of the heat. The following day at school, Lu Xihao calls out to her from a distance, but Zhou Wan simply walks past him without saying a word. The unexpected cold shoulder leaves him slightly annoyed. That night, however, another surprise is waiting for him. Zhou Wan brings him a small portable fan and some tissues so he won't feel so hot while studying. A quiet smile appears on Lu Xicao's face. The next day, she even hands him her bottle of juice before walking away. Watching all this leaves Zhang Fan completely speechless. Even Lu Xixiao has no idea what's gotten into her. Meanwhile, Zhang Yin also learns that Zhou Wan has started tutoring Lu Xixiao. On their way home, he finally asks her about it. This time, Zhou Wan tells him the truth. She admits that she was the one who offered to teach Lu Xihao. Hearing that, Zhang Yan's smile quietly fades. He doesn't say anything, but his expression says it all. That evening, while studying together, Lu Xihao notices water dripping from Zhou Wan's bag. He quickly points it out. When Zhou Wan opens it, both of them are stunned. Inside the bag are several tiny fish. Curious, Lu Xihao asks, "Where are you going to keep them?" Zhou Wan sighs. "I don't have anywhere to keep them yet. I'll figure something out." An idea suddenly pops into Lu Xixiao's head. He takes Zhou Wan back to the school that very night. The two secretly sneak inside, carefully avoiding the security guards. Just as they reach the science lab, one of the guards starts heading toward them. Panic kicks in. Their quiet mission instantly turns into a midnight adventure. They run through the school, trying not to get caught. Zhou Wan jumps out of a window first, but Lu Xihao freezes. He suddenly realizes how high it is. Standing below, Zhou Wan looks up and says, "Jump. I'll catch you." Gathering his courage, Lu Xixiao jumps, but halfway down, he slips. For a split second, it looks like he's going to crash to the ground. Instead, Zhou Wan catches him. For a few quiet moments, they simply stare into each other's eyes. Then, the guard's voice echoes from behind them. Zhou Wan quickly snaps back to reality and hurriedly hides Lu Xixiao. And from that night on, the distance between them slowly begins to disappear. After setting up everything the fish needed in the tank, Xiao quietly watched them swim around. Sometimes he reached out to touch them, and sometimes he simply smiled while following them with his eyes. Zhou Wan couldn't help watching him. After a moment, Xiao turned to her. "Why are you looking at me like that?" She smiled softly. "Because you're nothing like the person I thought you were." Xiao raised an eyebrow. "Oh, then what did you think I was like?" After a brief pause, Zhou Wan answered honestly, "I thought you were just a spoiled rich kid, someone who never had to worry about the future, someone who only cared about having fun before eventually taking over his father's business." Xiao shrugged. "Honestly, that was my plan." He stood up to leave, but Zhou Wan quickly stopped him. "No, I don't think that anymore." Xiao paused. Looking at him, she said, "I think you're actually a kind person, someone with a really caring heart." Surprised, Xiao asked, "What makes you think that?" Instead of answering, Zhou Wan changed the subject. "By the way, How did you know I always come here? Xiao pointed at a nearby tree. I recognize this place because of that tree. For a moment, Zhou Wan's eyes filled with emotion. I thought I was the only one who ever noticed it. They stood there in silence, both smiling as they looked at the tree, sharing a quiet moment that somehow belonged only to the two of them. The next day, while Xiao was studying, he noticed Zhou Wan buying a few fish. A little later, he showed up at the same shop. Without thinking twice, he bought every fish the store had. Zhou Wan stared at him in surprise. Then Xiao released them into a nearby pool. Somewhere along the way, he'd started liking even the smallest things that mattered to Zhou Wan. But there was one problem. The pool water was filthy. Without hesitation, both of them jumped in and carefully rescued every fish. After a lot of effort, they moved them all into a safe tank. By then, both of them were completely soaked. After changing into dry clothes, Zhou Wan brought up the topic of Xiao studying abroad again. The moment she mentioned it, his expression darkened. Sensing the change, she quickly switched topics and started talking about the upcoming festival and the wish balloons. But Xiao immediately refused, so she quietly said, I want to celebrate the festival with you and make a wish together. Xiao looked at her, but didn't say a word. Just then, a security guard caught them, and they were both taken in. The next morning, the whole school heard the announcement. The teachers revealed that Xiao and Zhou Wan had taken equipment from the lab without permission and would be punished. As everyone watched, Xiao stepped forward. He took the microphone and accepted all the blame himself. Jiang Fan was completely stunned. This was the same Lu Xiao who had never taken responsibility for anyone before. Yet now, he was protecting a girl without hesitation. Zhou Wan also apologized, and in the end, the teachers decided to forgive both of them. Afterward, they went out for noodles together. What they didn't realize was that Jiang Yan had seen them together. That night, when Zhou Wan got home, her grandmother smiled and asked, You went out for noodles, didn't you? Zhou Wan nodded. Her grandmother smiled even wider. Then, why was the bill for 2 people? Embarrassed, Zhou Wan couldn't say a word as her grandmother playfully teased her about going out with Xiao. Flustered, Zhou Wan quickly replies, He's just my classmate, that's all, before pretending to focus on her work. Later that night, Zhou Wan was sitting on the rooftop when Jiang Yan joined her. He gently asked about Xiao, but Zhou Wan refused to say much. Then she looked at him and smiled. He's just my friend, just like you. Seeing her smile, Jiang Yan smiled too. For him, her happiness was all that mattered. Meanwhile, when Xiao returned home, the house felt completely empty. It was the same house where he had once lived with his mother. After getting home, he took a picture of the fish and sent it to Zhou Wan before asking what time the festival would start. But Zhou Wan was distracted by something else. She couldn't stop asking herself, should I really do this? The next day was the school festival. Without telling Xiao, Zhou Wan secretly called his house and invited his mother to the event. Xiao had no idea. Soon, the wish balloon ceremony began. Zhou Wan kept asking Jiang Fan where Sa was, but Xiao had already told him not to reveal anything. As time slowly ran out, every student released their balloons into the sky. Only Zhou Wan was still standing there, holding hers, unable to let go. The disappointment on her face was impossible to hide. Then, a familiar voice called out. The next second, Xiao appeared carrying a huge bundle of balloons. Surprised, Zhou Wan said, "You're so late." Xiao smiled. "One balloon isn't enough, so I brought plenty." Then he looked at her and added, "I wanted every one of your wishes to come true." Together, they held the balloons, closed their eyes, made their wishes, and released them into the sky. As the balloons floated toward the clouds, Xiao quietly said, "I'll make all your wishes come true. Consider my debt repaid." But at that exact moment, Zhou spotted a woman standing across the crowd, her mother. The color drained from her face, and without thinking for even a second, she ran straight to Xiao and hugged him.